Hello guys, welcome back. Due to several reasons, I had to take a break for the last few weeks. So we'll continue from where we had left off. We were on verse number 52, and uh, let me bring it up. So, okay. Yadate. Well, the thing is, uh, maybe people who are interested in this video, they are following the video step by step. But if somebody is experiencing a break, maybe I will recite just a few of the previous verses. Don't want to go too back. Yogastat kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धि योगा धनंजय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्य कृपणा फलहेतवहे बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योग कर्म सुकौशलम् कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्म बंध vinirmukta padam gacchante namayam. So we have seen till this point from the last session. For one who is established in this yoga, he is able to free himself from the cycle of birth and rebirth, janma bandha vinirmukta. And the next few verses are following along the same kind of direction, where the advantages of being established in yoga are described by Sri Krishna. Now, the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, is kind of broken up. It's a very unique chapter. As I had said at the beginning of this chapter, if there is one chapter you would want to study, it is this second chapter. It is also sometimes called as the summary of the Mahabharata, of the Bhagwad Gita. Okay. Yadate mohakaliram buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavasya shrutasya cha. Yadate, yada, when yadate moha kalilam, the two words moha and kalilam, they are there. Moha is a delusion, kalilam is the forest. So due to ignorance, when we see things, if we see water in the desert, and due to ignorance we take it as water, when our rationalistic reasoning lets us know, or scientific for that matter, that it's a mirage, the water is not there. Or when we see the sun setting, we know that it's not the sun that's setting, but the earth that is rotating and giving us that appearance, and so on and so forth. So all the things that we have seen, this is just physical representations. But when we look at the death of a body, it is really not the Atman who is dying, and so on and so forth. All the things that we have studied so far, to be able to see them in real life. The most important verse of the Bhagwad Gita we have seen earlier, that said that the truth is imperishable. So this In this, na sato vidyate bhav, na bhavo vidyate satah. We saw this verse in great detail. So to be able to see that truth in everything, to be firmly established in that, if which is another way of putting that you are above this world of delusion, you are able to see through it. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatita rishyati. Buddhi is your intellect. Vyatita rishyati, you go beyond that, you rise above it. You are able to see through that. A magician is performing a magic. You are able to see through it, that this is not real, this is magic. Tada ganta, tada, then, yada. This you will find in many verses, like as terrible as a tiger. If you, as you sow, so will you reap. So that kind of simile like thing you will come across in many of these verses. So this is yada and tada. Just as yada, when XYZ happens, tada, then ABC takes place. Something like that. You'll find is yada tada many places. So when you have got this vision, yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati, tada, then gantasi, you will go. Nirvedam Shrotavyasya Shrutasya cha. You will reach a state which has you shall attain to indifference. So basically you will reach a state where the things that you have attained thus far or that you are yet to acquire, they will not shake your belief. Belief is not a right word here. It will not shake your understanding, the knowledge that you have gained. It will be unshakable. So this Shrotavasya, Shrutavasya, there's lots of commentary on this and different ways in which these two words are interpreted. Now, I don't want to spend too much time, but we need to remember that this is at the time when this was being evolved, these ideas were being developed. At that time, karma kanda was had a very strong hold in society. That the aim of life was to perform different kinds of karma. You would perform a huge ritual that would enable you to go to heaven or to have a prosperous life, or so on and so. There were so many and yajnas, and in great excruciating detail, elaborateness, they had been recorded what needs to be done. People used to do it with the idea that it is going to help in the life, and therefore, right now, it today's life, we don't see it that much, and so we don't realize it. But the time when this was evolving, that was a very strong idea in society. So wherever Sri Krishna, these scriptures, they get a chance, they will denounce it, saying, be careful. What has been said there is not exactly what you're after. It's deceptive. So that is not going to give you this Brahmajnana, this state that Karma Yoga promises. Those rituals will not give you. And whenever they get a chance, they will bring it up. So in that sense, Shruti is a rough representation of that Karma Kanda, the ritualistic way of life, which will translate into today's race of earning more and more money. You need a certain amount of money to lead a stable life, but after that, then it becomes a crazy rat race. You have a million, you have got a 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, billion. Where do you want to stop? So that's roughly, that is what this will translate to, this Shruti. So you have got a lot of things today, and you will continue to do those things till the end of your life, and you will not get to peace, the freedom from suffering, that one the whole reason why we follow these rituals or acquire so much of money is to be able to be happy, to escape sorrows. And this is this verse is saying you will not be able to do that if you keep following this blindly. It is not the way. That's what it is. Every chance that you get, the Upanishads, Vedanta, Bhagwad Gita, great seers, rishis that are there, they will denounce it. So when you are able to have this vision due to being established in knowledge, then these shrutis, shrotavasya surtasya cha, these two things, you will be indifferent from them. You will be unaffected by. I don't know if it's the next verse or the previous verse. It's sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo. It's same continuation, same idea. uh, Sukha dukkha, pain and pleasure. This person begins to treat it in the same way. Jaya jayo, victory, failure. This is kind of in the same light. Okay. Next verse. Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala. Again, it's the same way actually here too. Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala. Samadhavachala buddhi tada yogamavapsyasi. So the Shruti, which is these scriptures, you be careful when you read it, when you perform what has been said, and don't get deluded by it. When you rise above what has been said in the Shruti, you are able to correctly interpret it from a Vedantic standpoint. Then the scriptures, you can do them. These upasanas, you can do them. So there is, in the Vedas, there are four parts. There is the Samhitas, which are hymns. There's Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and the Vedanta, the Upanishads, the end of the Vedas. End of the Vedas from a logical standpoint. Sometimes there is a little bit of uh, you will find there is some exception cases where Upanishads fall in some other places. Anyhow, so there is a great amount of detail about how you need to worship the sun or some other goddess, and that is all there in the Aranyakas. And then people followed it; they still follow it. So rise Shruteve, that is all Shruti. Shruteve Pratipannate. That all that you take it in the right sense. The Vedas are not saying, the Vedanta is not saying, just give up all those things. That in the right sense. As a matter of fact, today we have already given it up. How many people do all those yajnas? There is maybe 1 or 2%. But we need to interpret it in today's world. In today's world, this will, as I mentioned last time, it will translate to whatever we do to earn our livelihood and make it better, right? So we need to do that. We cannot not do it because we have to earn our livelihood, but we have to be cognizant of what the reality is and be able to draw this line. So you are after 50 years, you are not yet, you don't even have $1 million. You don't have $1 million in your account. How disturbed do you want to be? So this is kind of some of the things that the Shrutis are going to give you. The punya that you have collected, which is you can translate to the dollars that you have in your, the money that you have in your account. Is this enough money? If the money is not enough, you are living hand to mouth, it's difficult to make ends meet, then you know it is not enough. But once you are above a certain level, it's, you can't answer that question. I have got 2 cars standing in my driveway, but I don't have a Cadillac and I don't have some Mercedes. So where does this end? That's kind of the spirit of this statement here. Shruteve pratipannate. You don't get dragged about by these kind of desires. Shruteve pratipannate. I try and highlight with my mouse when I recite some of this. Shruteve pratipannate yada sthasyati nischala. Nischala is chala is to move. Nischala is not to move. So you rise about rise above this confusion that the Shrutis might cause and be established. Achala is to be immovable, like the anvil of the iron-smith. He will take some metal and he will bang it on that to give it shape and whatnot. But the anvil itself is immovable. So nischala samadhavachala buddhi. Tada yoga samadhavachala buddhi. Tada yogam avapsyasi. So if when you will be able to do that, then you samadhava chala buddhi. 1 second. Buddhi is our intellect, reasoning, thinking. So when we are able to focus and still this thinking of ours, this mind of ours, in that state, without being confused by things that Shruti has thrown at us, samadhava chala buddhi, tada, then yogam avapsisi, yogam avap yogamavapsyasi. It's kind of 2 words that have come together. Then you would have achieved yoga. Yoga roughly, it means union. So when in this sense, it will translate to you will come to know. It means the verse is saying, when you are not deluded by the Shrutis and you are established, that means that you have achieved this yoga. That means you have understood what is this secret sauce from which this entire creation stands up. And it's not just a very mechanical and material understanding. It also imbibes, it also provides the mind with a um, unimaginable peace that has not been experienced so far. Okay, next verse. Okay, so up till this point, this the second chapter is kind of broken into it's not exactly broken, but we can look at it like that there is a section where the nature of the truth especially this verse that we saw earlier, that about about truth, that is it is the crux of Vedanta, right? That na sato vidyate bhava, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drishtontahi tvanayos tattvadarshibhi. We saw that verse. So that about the truth, and then about the principles of Karma Yoga and the practice of Karma Yoga. And now this section over here from verse 54 onwards, this is the person who has attained success in Karma Yoga. This person, what happens to him? What the transformation that happens in such a person upon achieving this state of being a Siddha? There's so many ways in which this state can be called. A successful and established karma yogi, a realized soul upon moksha prapti, so on and so forth. Different in established in samadhi. This person. So you have got, you know, a person, and you have been interacting with him, and he's a nice guy. It's not, he's not pious fellow, doesn't hurt anybody, something religiously following things, and let's assume that this person is able to reach this state because he has been practicing all these things that the Gita says. That this karma yoga is just one of the ways, right? We went over that. It's you're getting at the top of a hill, and there are different ways in which you can go. You can throw a rope with rock climbing and go up, or you can take a chopper and go to the top of the hill, or you take your bike and go up the hill, or however, there's so many ways to go there. Karma yoga is one of the ways. So through any of these ways, this person has reached that height. And once he has reached that height, what happens to him? Does he just vaporize? What does his mind become blank and he stops interacting with the world? What happens to him? So the Bhagavad Gita is the person of Arjuna is explaining, which is very interesting point, because this might be a question that comes in the mind of several seekers as to what happens to a person once he attains, especially externally. Internally, we may have an idea that he won't be disturbed. He will be a very peaceful, saintly person. But externally, what kind of behavior will he exhibit? So that's kind of the crux of this section of the second verse. This will also go on for several verses, but it starts here. So here Arjuna asks this question about this person who has been able to reach that state. Arjuna vacha sthita prajnasya ka bhasha sthita. Okay. Arjuna vacha sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Arjuna vacha. Arjuna says, Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna is this knowledge or realization. Sthita is to be situated. So one who has discovered and is established in this state of knowledge. Sthita Prajna. That's a Sthita Prajna. Different ways to reach there. As I said, Karma Yoga is one of them. And this way, this person achieves this state. Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. how does this person speak? How does he behave? Stithpadnya ka bhasha. Samadhisthasya Keshava. Keshava is Sri Krishna. Samadhisthasya Keshava. Who is in this state of samadhi. Now, this is slightly tricky because in if somebody samadhi is also interpreted in different ways. If we understand it to be a state of trance, which means somebody is super focused on the task at hand. So there is a scientist and he's looking at his telescope and he's observing some nebula and stars and so on. And he's very, very engrossed in it. And then somebody is calling him. Do you want to have a cup of tea? Something they're calling him. He's not going to hear them because with all his senses, he's so engrossed in it, in the activity that he's doing, that he'll not be able to interact with other stimuli that the world might be throwing at him. So in that state, samadhi is this trance state where one is completely locked down, as his mind is locked into this, whatever it is that he is thinking about. So this is in a state of trance, that person is as such inert. He will not, it can happen to anybody for a short time. It depends on the degree of focus, how much you love the thing that you are doing, and then you can get entranced with whatever it is that you are doing. So this is not exactly that. This person, he is all the time, he is locked into that mode. So he will if I were to use the word, come down from that state, and he walks with people, he talks with people like ordinary persons. So you have got this mathematics scientist and he is working on some equation and it's in his mind all the time, like, did I do that right? What about that maybe this division is, so he's inside that. And then he leaves his classroom, he walks back to his car, he drives home, but in his mind is given to that. He is, God forbid, he is not going to get into an accident, but whatever he's doing, mostly it's the body's reflections, reflexive actions that take place. He is just responding to that. His mind as such is established or is involved in something different. In this case, this yogi, his mind is given to this truth. He has been able to see that. Wherever he goes, he is able to see that. He has got his vision in him. It's not like some actual physical vision, but his mind is able to see things differently. So he's out of that trance-like condition, but not exactly. His mind still lingers there. So he's not sitting and not interacting at all. Well, that is one state, but especially in this case, Arjuna is saying this person, when he comes down, as it were, he's not going to come down all the way. He's in that sense changed. But nevertheless, such a person, when he is interacting with other people and things, Samadhisthasya Keshava, he's asking Krishna, all this you have told me, when this person realizes, gets to the state that you told me, how does this person behave afterwards? Sthitadi, sthitadi, this person basically, this person whose mind is established in this wisdom, Sthitadhe kim prabhasheta. What kind of language does it talk? Kimasit, how does it say it? Vrajeta kim. So it's like, I mean, this, when we say that, or the Vedanta says that this this person, this aspirant, this sadhaka, when he reaches that ultimate goal, he is a sarvajnani, he is all knowing. That doesn't mean that suddenly he will be able to explain to you the theory of relativity. That's not the understanding behind that. This knowledge is not kind, it's a different kind of knowledge. It's not the scientific, or it's not the worldly. He won't be knowing Shakespeare and he won't know all the languages in there. That's not what is implied here. So this person, he has been able to see the world in its right state. So this person, he, when he comes down from the state and he talks to somebody, what language will he use? Well, you, he's, for all intent and purposes, we may observe very little difference between his behavior before and after the attainment of samadhi. He won't change that much. He's not going to come and when he speaks, the voices, the sound will be different, and you will be thrilled whenever you hear that. He will be the same person. His vision, his attitude of looking at things will be completely changed. The way he will interact with things that a, a regular person interacts will be totally different. So if he's hurt physically or otherwise, the way he reacts will be very different from the way a regular person interacts. He he will not at all be suffering as a regular human being. That will be the biggest difference, but that you can't see like that. So this question is deliberately brought about in this Bhagwad Gita to tell that nothing miraculous. We are not going to notice something super miraculous has happened. Suddenly, this guy can do whatever he wants. He puts his hand out, and then fire starts on his hand, and somebody is having some kind of an ailment, and he puts his hand over his back, and lo and behold, all this person no longer has that disease. Nothing like that is going to happen. That's the intent behind this question. Why the Bhagavad Gita brings up this question here is to clarify that point. What happens to the, how does it speak? How does he walk? Arjuna vacha sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. Bhasha is language. What language does he speak? Same language. But the some scriptures or some people might interpret what the scriptures have said to mean something like that. That this, once you realize, once this person becomes a knower of Brahman, everything changes. Well, yes and no. For him, not for you. Maybe a little bit, but not too much. Anyhow, Arjuna Vach, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, language. Samadhisthasya Keshava, Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta. How does he speak? Kima sita. Asit is to sit. How does he sit? Well, just like anybody else. Kima sita vrajeta kim. How does he walk? Okay, let's see what Sri Krishna has to say about it. Shri Krishna, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So this is again the sandhis. So in Sanskrit, this is there. This is actually, I don't know, maybe one of the most trickiest thing when we are reading Sanskrit. It happens with, it has to some extent in American English, they not so much in writing, but in pronunciation. Uh, some words, especially if a sentence is made up of 4 or 5 words, the last 3 or 4 words, they just roll it up into one word, which that's what brings the accent out, the accent of a native speaker. So similarly here, this is probably the most difficult part where you can keep on joining words and make a very big word out of it. And sometimes that can cause confusion. And then there are experts and scholars which that tell us how to break this word properly. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So this na and u have come together to become nu over here. Anyhow, Sri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati. Prajahati is in a, in a in a way it's like you it's the action involved here. There's a dramatic action involved here. Prajati is to give up in a very colloquial sense. It means to give up, but there's a strong action that comes. This word brings along with it. It's like you take an axe and you chop something up. It brings that kind of a feel to it. Prajahati yada. So this, I don't know if there's a tada here. Maybe there might be, but whenever you see this yada, it's that there could be a tada coming later on. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. So this is again breaking up the sandhis. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. Atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnas tadochyate. It's roughly the tada is come here. This verse is extremely important. This every chapter in the Bhagwad Gita has got at least one verse that is very very profound. And when we say important, what do we mean by that is that we can take this verse and keep contemplating on it for as long as we can. Recite this word in our mind and think about what it's telling and keep doing it over and over. That's what, when we say a verse is important, that is what is said. The meaning behind it is that you take this verse and make it your own. It is something that is worth treasuring. So you can keep thinking of it all the time. It's wonderful. It will take off the edge, the roughness of the thinking that one has when interacting with the day-to-day objects of the world, the day-to-day experiences that one has, how to look at them, how to process them so they don't flare up emotions and unsteadiness, which eventually makes one suffer. So these are, when we say they are important verses, that is the thing behind the importance. We have to make them our own, keep it with us. This word over here, Atmanyevatmana Tushta, key word, very, very, very important. If you read books on Gita or you listen to discourses, you will find that the speaker will spend so much time on this word over here. or the author of a book, he will spend so much time. This word, it is heavily loaded word over here. We'll spend some time. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman. So kama is desires. Part of it is what has been said here is something we have been reading all along. So Prajahati Yada Kaman, one who has given up desires. And we have spent an awful lot of time understanding what it means. You cannot give up desires like that. But basically, when you have something that is more important, vastly more important than what you are happening, you outgrow. That is the word. You outgrow these desires. You no longer, you played marbles when you were a kid, you no longer are excited by that. You have outgrown that, right? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan, all of Partha. Partha is Arjuna. Manogatan, of the mind. Things that the mind thinks of. And it's very interesting. If you are able to practice this, if we are able to practice it is very surprising. Personally, from my personal experience, I can tell you that something that we thought of so dear, if we keep telling ourselves it's not that important, in a matter of a few weeks, it loses its potency. It no longer affects us, and this happens naturally as well. So one of the things that is commonly heard is time heals everything. So that's what happens when we say time heals everything. There are other points of focus that come up, and this thing that was your focus is lost. It goes out of focus, no longer bothers us. That's what, it's nothing extraordinary or transcendental. It's just the way the mind works. And if you practice it, if we do it in a deliberate way, we get the same kind of results. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Atmanyevatmana tushta. One who is satisfied with his own self is such a difficult thing. First and foremost, to understand what it means, and secondly, to be able to reach that state. These words here, they are, so these words here, they mean nothing but Stithpadnya. It's kind of the same thing, but it sheds a whole different light on that state. This person, he has no expectation from the outside world. Atmanyevatmana tushta. He has found that something which will, that something which enables him to not want anything from the outside world. That kind of a person, Atmanyevatmana tushta. Sthitaprajna, 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 Sthitaprajnasya uchyate. Uchyate is said. Such a person is called as the Sthitaprajna. Okay, I will have to stop at this point because I have to take care of something. So thanks for listening, and we will meet next time. Bye.